Welcome to a Halloween episode, a spooktacular episode, if you will, of How Could You Forget? A fun podcast where your hosts Gurdon, Lexi, and Eric come together and learn about a topic that maybe you'd forgotten about, never heard about, or it's simply too good to forget.
Alright, perfect. That's
First
where,
try.
This is where it started. Let's go. First try, one take.
First one take Andy over here, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
That's
See some swag for the rest of us.
See, oh my god. No, I can't. So, I'm not the one that's going to be hosting this episode. I think maybe because it's so spooky, we'll leave this up to Lexi. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me, Gurdon. Thanks.
Yeah, Lexi loves spooky stuff. 100%.
As I was saying off script earlier, I'm spooky in the unsettling way, not in the funny way. So
I still don't
Still
know.
not entirely certain what that means.
Neither of us know what that means.
right, it's unsettling.
I mean, it's a good point.
Exactly.
I am unsettled.
I'm unsettled because I just don't know what's supposed to be
Confusion?
I
happening.
think she's hinting.
Exactly.
She's like an eldritch type of horror, where like it's scary because you don't understand what it is.
Okay.
I'm like like a witch out in the hut in the middle of the forest, you know. So yes, that's correct. I'm gonna be talking about a topic here for our Halloween episode, and I thought it was really interesting because I am not really someone that likes true crime, super like scary stories. So like this will not be an episode of, you know, scary, gory stuff, but more so a look at Halloween in general, at least from my lens, you know, being an American, growing up in America, and kind of the history of canceling Halloween or just straight up pretending that Halloween isn't a thing.
Lexi's going woke and canceling Halloween. Okay.
No, I am
Let's
not.
go.
Let's go.
The reason why I was thinking about this is actually because I was reflecting on when I was younger, and there were a few years of my life when I was a kid that we were not allowed to celebrate Halloween. My parents were going to a very strict evangelical church at the time. And fair warning on this, we will be discussing religion. Want to give the overarching theme that it's okay to be religious. It's okay to be a Christian. That's mainly what we're going to be talking about. However, there are obviously certain groups that take things to certain extremes. And so that's more of what we're going to be talking about, not any one person's individual beliefs specifically.
Some individuals just be kind of cringe.
True. That is so true. Some organized groups be kind of cringe.
Yeah, cringe in the bad way, not in the
Not
cool.
cringe in
Is
the
there
funny
a good
way.
way to be cringe? Actual question.
I mean, I'm literally right here. Like I'm.
Oh my god.
I was not expecting that one.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, so yeah, with that PSA out of the way, or that disclaimer out of the way, yeah, there were a few years when I was younger that my parents were going to pretty strict evangelical church, and I have found this within a lot more like fundamentalist Christian groups, a lot of like fundamentalist Protestant groups, that there is a big thing around not celebrating Halloween because it is seen as demonic. It's seen as relating to the devil. Of course, horror movies are off the table. Anything involving witchcraft, wizardry, really Harry Potter also, lump that in there. All of that is kind of seen as like you don't bring that into your home because that is letting the devil in, and it's, you know, goes against what you should be doing as a Christian who's living for God and seeking God's favor and wisdom and guidance for your life. So I wanted to start with kind of the personal story and then kind of open it up to you guys, ask you guys some questions, all that kind of stuff. So the reason why this sticks out for me is, like I said, there were years where we did celebrate Halloween when I was really little, you know, from the time I was a baby to about probably 5 or 6 years old, I would say. We were actually allowed to celebrate Halloween. We went trick-or-treating in the neighborhood, did Halloween type activities, so much so that I think I was probably around 5 or 6. My brother is about 6 years older than me. He actually got to be Harry Potter for Halloween. And so that was totally fine. That was totally cool. And then probably by the time I was maybe around 7 or 8 years old, that was when my parents had been really influenced by the church that they were going to at the time. And I remember them being like, oh, okay, we're going to be something nice for Halloween this year. And so there was a year I was an angel for Halloween, or like, Harvest Festival, whatever you want to call it, because our church had a event near or on the night of Halloween that you were supposed to go to church and play little games at the church instead of doing the sinful satanic thing of going and trick-or-treating.
Right. The simple act of going to people's houses and asking for candy.
Right. Or watching a movie, a spooky movie or anything like that. So I was an angel one year. I got to be a cheerleader for 1 year, which that I literally wore sweatpants and a sweatshirt. I don't
the most cheerleader thing
most committed
do.
cheerleader.
Yeah, it was very lazy. I got to be like
don't
a butterfly.
Don't even need pom-poms. You just got
right. Well, I did have pom-poms. So
okay. Well, yeah.
I've got a picture I can send to you if you want to add that in. But it was always things that were acceptable to dress up as. No, my brother could no longer be Harry Potter. He could not read the books as they were coming out. So that got shut down pretty quickly. And one of the things that I recall about this time was that there was actually a DVD that my parents had received from the church as it was just straight up propaganda. I mean, I was going to try to find a nicer word for it, but it was just straight up propaganda. And it was basically advising parents, or advising maybe not just parents, but the church congregation on why Halloween is evil. And I went up to their room and I saw this. And so I think it was in their DVD player, and I had went up there, turned on the TV. I don't really know why I was
up there.
I don't know what the reasoning was for it, but I remember turning on the DVD player and I think it was a DVD. I'm sitting there trying to think. I'm like, maybe it was a VHS. I really can't recall. No, I know
it was a laser
that.
disc.
Yeah.
Wait, is a laser disc video? I forgot.
It may have been a VHS, to be honest. I genuinely can't recall, but I do remember pressing play on what was in there, and it was like this spooky music and this laughing, and it had something to do with the messaging of Halloween is evil, and it brings demons into your house and all this stuff, and as Christians we shouldn't do that, and it was very fear-mongering, because of course it was. So that really got me thinking about Halloween in general and how interesting it is, because of course some countries don't even celebrate it at all. Other countries have different ways of celebrating it. And I think it's just weird how much individual experience can differ on those kinds of things. So what has been your guys' experience with Halloween? Did you have something similar where people were fear-mongering about it, or has it always just been ayo, pumpkins and candy moment?
Pumpkins and candy.
I mean, from personal experience, not really. I think just because I'm in Canada, and we're not as there are some evangelical super kind of groups like that up in Canada, but not to the point where there was any there was all the kids around my school, we all got to do trick-or-treating and dress up however we wanted.
Right.
I mean, to an extent, obviously,
of course,
but
yeah.
There was never any fear-mongering that I remember specifically back then. I also have a really bad memory, so maybe
that's great.
I feel like if you would have been told or shown spooky stuff, you probably like that probably would have stuck with you though.
Yeah,
like, even
I
if
feel
your
like
memory's bad.
yeah, because I do remember other things from when I was younger that like really spooked me or really was kind of like fear mongery that left an impact on me. But none of it really had to do with Halloween. At least not in Canada. And it could be the area I was in. Maybe it was, more chill about that. I think also part of it is that Canada on religion is just a lot less like in your face. Like it's a lot less super obvious than it is in America.
I mean, I grew up in the Midwest in America. So like that was very, very religious.
As opposed to
everywhere.
my ass who lived like a couple hours away from Toronto. It's like, night and day there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for my personal experience as well, I'm very similar to what Lexi went through. Is that like I had this kind of the same upbringing of very, very Christian parents and very much stuff like that as well. And so like I remember one year where, I wasn't allowed to do anything Halloween like at all. Like, nope, we're gonna stay inside. And like I think even my mom made like a salt ring around my house to protect from demons that night and stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay,
for the audience, for the audience members in the audience right now, I know about Gordon's mom. That's pretty tame compared to the kind of stuff. Like I don't want.
Yeah.
I can believe it. There's no hyperbole here. I just want to clarify that.
I can believe it too. I had just never heard that she made a salt ring around the house.
Yeah, to keep us
Halloween?
safe from demons. Yeah, Lexi, duh. Why else would you make a salt ring around the house than to keep you safe from demons?
That's even a step above like what my family was doing at the time. Because they were just like, you can't go out and trick or treat. We're going to like, you got to be something God honoring and we're going to go to church. Like
they're not going to give you something sweet to eat, Lexi, if you don't have
Oh my
that.
goodness. Wow.
So, like that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like that was one of the examples. Like I remember specifically growing up and being very kind of like you're talking about, like, oh man, like gotta be really good and very stuff like this. And then again that year where I was just not even allowed and we stayed inside afraid of demons that might come get us during Halloween. And then just going to my grandma's house like the next year or even sometimes the day after and just going trick-or-treating and everything being perfectly fine. And I was like, what the heck is this? Like, what is all this? What have I been told about? Like, which one's true? Like, that's very hard, especially as a child, because you just don't know which is real and which is true and all that stuff. Because on one side, it might be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, we're going to go celebrate Halloween and enjoy this thing and this thing and this thing. And then the next time, it could be just something real rough and like, uh-oh, you're going to get got by...
It's like scary. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get got by the evil Santa, like the evil, not Santa, evil Halloween monsters and demons. And I was like, oh no, like I'm going to get eaten by these. But like you're a kid,
right,
so
and
you just...
Oh, sorry. You can finish what you were saying.
Good.
I just... that's what I was going to say is that like, it's one thing to have certain like legends or stories within a culture that are like, more on the scary side or like, more of unexplained sort of things. But I can imagine for you, it was a lot like it's like a whiplash feeling of like, okay, some of my family is, they're sitting here putting salt around our house, praying, like not wanting demons to enter our house. And then some of my family members like, here, have this full-size Snicker bar. Like that's so...
Yeah.
That is just, whiplash is really the only word that I can think of is just...
Yeah, I love that movie.
What?
Shut up, Eric.
Fine film.
It's
Yes, indeed. Sorry.
Very good film, yes. A man of taste, I see.
I wanted to also kind of explain the origins of Halloween and why a lot of more fundamentalist Christian groups see this holiday or this celebration as evil and bad. So for the people who don't know this, and maybe you guys already know this, but according to history.com, but also as it's just discussed in
Lexi's
many
bringing
different
up sources?
I know, right? I will bring up
Dang,
sources.
let's
However,
go.
there will be one source I don't name because I cannot stand the site. So,
Understandable.
So, Halloween, or at least what historians think used to be Halloween, or what modern Halloween comes for, is from a Celtic spiritual tradition known as Samhain. I was definitely saying that wrong in the beginning. Thank God.
Would
History
you like
Channel.
to spell it out so people can understand why you might have been
Yes.
saying that
So
incorrectly?
it's a Gaelic word. So it is spelled Samhain, but you are supposed to pronounce it Samhain. Again, according to this source. If that's wrong, if there's any people that are experts on Celtic stuff, please correct
Send
me.
all your emails to Lexi.
Please don't. Lexi at lexi.lexi. So it comes from this Celtic festival, which of course, Celtic tradition is pagan, and I, growing up in a evangelical church, anything to do with the word pagan is essentially associated with evil, even though it is not that. And it's really not that big of a deal, but they see paganism as like, oh my gosh, it's so terrible and horrible and all this. And so a lot of Christian churches will take some of these pagan festivals or rituals and things like that and kind of Jesusify. I know it's not a real word, but find their own way to celebrate that. And so
I was gonna say it gets the point across.
right, yeah, you know what I mean when I say that, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where that comes from originally, is the Festival of Samhain. The excerpt here from history.com, because they explain a lot better than I do. It says, it is usually celebrated from October 31st to November 1st to welcome the harvest and usher in, quote, the dark half of the year. Celebrants believe that the barriers between the physical world and the spirit world break down during Samhain, allowing more interactions between humans and denizens of the other world. So that could be people who have passed, that could be demons, that could be, again, whatever.
Could be friends.
True, could be friends, could be some chilling ghosts, but
Being chilling ghosts.
Could be some homies.
Yes.
right, being chilling. So anything that is in what is, quote, the other world. So makes sense, right? And then on this same history source, it is talking about how it kind of merged with All Hallows Eve, or what we know as Halloween. And then it was pretty much, they're saying here, it was adopted in the 19th century America through Irish immigrants bringing traditions across the ocean. So that is where the roots of it, Samhain was the Celtic festival. Irish immigrants came over to America, started to spread this idea of All Hallows Eve or Halloween. So makes a lot of sense as to why certain Christian groups would jump to the fact that this is bad and that this is evil. It says here that trick-or-treating is said to have been derived from the ancient Irish and Scottish practices in the nights leading up to Samhain. In Ireland, mumming was the practice of putting on costumes, going door to door, and singing songs to the dead. Cakes were given as payment. So that's
You get paid
definitely
in cakes? Hold up.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I'm like,
actually?
man, a whole cake in this economy?
I mean,
Now, this is
I ain't saying. I mean, I'm not. No complaints from me.
No.
Right.
I mean,
This is an
I can mess
actual
with some
question.
cake.
Like, how big of cakes are we talking? Like, they have to be small ones. Like, you're not going to give a full
Yeah,
sheet
probably.
cake. Like,
Probably like a muffin, maybe like a
everyone
muffin
gets
or
a free
cupcake.
Twinkie.
Probably like
one
a
free
small
twink. Yes.
one twink. Yeah, because Twinkies were definitely around in the Celtic.
Oh yeah,
era.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's where they came
back
from.
in. I don't
Yeah.
want to say ancient Ireland because this wasn't ancient, but way back long ago in Ireland, they had Twinkies just
In the good old
chilling
days of Ireland.
Yeah, totally.
around. But yeah, I guess it's the idea of like a sweet treat. You got a little cake or whatever.
Yummy treat.
So that is kind of the history of the origin of that. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. I'm not going to go into depth. This isn't like, I don't want to do a History Channel, report or whatever. But
Why not?
just to give you guys some information in case you didn't already have that. So what I found interesting is that there is no official doctrine on Halloween within certain Christian groups. Like there's not, like, even within the evangelical group, there's no like doctrine that I could find that was like Halloween is bad and evil. Like there's no there's no direct sentence or thing about that. However, I did find a source from an organization that I absolutely cannot stand, so I'm not going to mention their name. They have an article about Christians who are really, grappling with should I celebrate Halloween? And, that's one of those things where that's your own decision. I'm not judging anybody. If they choose not to celebrate, that's totally fine. I'm talking more about the broader, the broader social impact that has as far as churches fear-mongering and giving this information, especially to kids. So this article by organization that shall not be named says, should Christians celebrate Halloween? The answer is, it depends. God desires faithful obedience for you and your family. For Christians, Halloween offers the opportunity to model faithfulness and obedience in our decision making. So basically this article is saying, we're not going to come out and tell you that you shouldn't celebrate Halloween, yet they have this passage here that says, within the context of Christianity and biblical references, Satan or Lucifer's origin has little to do with Halloween. Yet the relationship between the devil and Halloween exists for a reason. The reason has developed over centuries because of the original emphasis upon death and even more sinister elements. So,
Eric.
Okay, go on. Okay.
So that tells me that even though this answer is not, or this article is not giving you a definitive answer of yes or no, you should celebrate Halloween. But when you write a paragraph like that, you've pretty much told me how you feel about that one. You're not really leaving enough
They're
room
like,
for
I
people
ain't
to.
saying there's a connection.
There's not a lot of room for imagination there. Like it's.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, we're not going to tell you you can't, but know that the link between Satan and Halloween is very real, and he will get you. Like that's basically, how I read that. And then of course,
it's basically what it says.
We ain't
Yeah.
saying there's not a connection.
It's kind of hard to not read between the lines.
yeah, and then it even goes on to talk about, what does the Bible say about Halloween and all this stuff, and this is where the tie-in really happens with magic, and a lot of people saying that their kids couldn't read Harry Potter because it's like, oh, and in the Bible magic was also bad, and I can't speak to that. I've not read the Bible cover to cover,
So
nor
you
do I
are
want to.
practicing warlock, so I mean.
Oh,
Yeah.
true. Yes. But
True.
but yeah, so I just thought that was a little bit humorous, but of course, unfortunately, it's not always humorous because there are actually people out there looking for answers and saying, if I do this, am I inviting demons into my home? Am I, opening myself up for darkness and things like that? And so
Do you need to have a salt ring? Like,
oh my
actually-
God.
I mean, you never
No,
know.
it'll kill your grass.
No, my
Kill your
grass.
grass. Don't do it. Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting, and it just made me reflect on kind of how that's shown up in my life, and then, reading sources where people are talking about their experiences with not being able to celebrate Halloween, or actually just being baffled and being like, what? Like, there's people that think this is real. Like, they think Halloween is actually, when you're putting skeletons out in your yard or you're watching a horror movie, that this is real life and you're actually doing evil things. Like, I've heard stuff from both sides, and so that's why I wanted to bring this up today and give you guys some information about my experience, and then what some other people have experienced as well.
That was specifically the part that I was really interested in, is like hearing Eric's comparative side of like, I kind of assumed because you live in Canada that you're just going to be like, nah, never heard of this crazy shit.
Right.
Like, that there would not.
I mean, yeah, but I never really had heard about that crazy stuff.
It sounds like a Bible Belt thing, and I think it very much is. I think it's very much America Bible thing.
Yeah, actually, while we were talking about when we loosely walked away from the subject, I actually sneaky sent my mom a Facebook message to see if there was anything I was misremembering. I was just like, hey, did Halloween ever try to get banned here for any reason? And then her response is just, no, that's ridiculous. And then I say, okay, because apparently a lot of like evangelical areas try to do that in the Midwest. She sent back a laugh. And then she says, the only thing that has ever been banned or even considered in different places in the country is kids over 16, like, no longer being allowed to go trick-or-treating. And some schools don't allow kids to costumes at school. Like, it's, yeah. yeah, that's like it completely.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, though, because that has to do with, like, you know, hey, they don't want teenagers out past curfew doing stuff that they're supposed, you know, they're not supposed to do. So that's coming from more of a like public safety perspective. But
and like, I don't know, like I'm pretty sure the last time I properly trick-or-treated I was like 12. So like,
last week, Eric.
I don't know if that ever went into effect. What?
You didn't go trick-or-treating last week on totally Halloween? What the fuck?
Not last week, unfortunately.
Not last week.
Wait, what do you mean?
This is
well, wait, wouldn't this episode be going out like the day before Halloween?
Yeah,
Yes.
it hasn't
Or,
been
like, close to?
Halloween yet.
That was the joke, is that Eric was just going trick-or-treating for no reason.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, I think people would find that strange.
Normally. I don't even try to like put it under the guise of Halloween. Sometimes I'll just walk around my block and be like, "Yo, can I have like any candy or anything?"
Just
Hey,
like
yo, you got an
knocking doors.
Xbox in there?
Yeah.
Hey, yo, you giving out them 2 liter sodas?
This AO baller.
Hey, yo.
I need some of that 2-liter Diet Peebus right now.
Doctor, give me your Dr. Pibbis
Oh my
right
goodness.
now. Dog.
Yes.
One of the other things I was thinking about when we were talking about this is the fact that as I was digging into this topic, I know that it's very heavily related with the Satanic Panic that went on during the 80s and 90s here in America. And I am not qualified to talk about the Satanic Panic. There are so many other amazing sources out there who have covered this topic, and
Lexi's too satanic.
specifically. No, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, we
Wouldn't
all
that
are.
make
Let's
me
be
an
real.
expert if I was?
If you're too
I mean,
satanic,
you're a little bit of a biased source, I think.
that's more what I'm saying.
Well, okay, true, but no, for real. I will try to find some links so we can link to something if you're actually curious about learning about the Satanic Panic itself. There's a couple of good podcasts out there about that as well. But I think this all ties in because you had the Satanic Panic in the 80s and 90s where everything was, you know, people were scared of these, you know, satanic influences. And, you know, you even had the people, oh my gosh, if you listen to this record backwards, it's satanic messaging. And so we came out of, you know, that era into the 90s and the 2000s where people were looking for things to be, you know, scared of or fearmonger about. And it was, you know, Pokemon and Harry Potter. And it was like, you know, Pokemon not as much, even though there is that video of that pastor guy talking about how Pokemon is demonic and there's
Pokemonic,
that there is no, oh my gosh, no.
I do know a YouTuber, actually. I think it was maybe I'll throw it up somewhere or something, but it's a YouTuber called Mr. Gigi that I watch sometimes, and he actually did a video about the Pokemon Satanic Panic thing. He's a little bit older than us, and so I think he was around when that was going on, and it was a very interesting video.
Yeah, well, we'll have to link that one because that would be great too. And so so like the Pokemon Panic, you know, and then of course it was Harry Potter, and Harry Potter is witchcraft, and so don't let your kids read Harry Potter. And there's always been this evolution of fear, basically. And it's really interesting because, again, growing up in the Midwest, there are still a lot of churches who they don't come out and say they're anti-Halloween, and they don't fearmonger nearly as much, but it has given rise to things like trunk or treats or fall festivals or harvest festivals where
Sorry, hold on, back up. Trunk or treats?
Well, I gotta actually ask Eric this. Eric, what do you think a trunk or treat is? Just right off the top of your head.
I didn't even think about the fact that people wouldn't know what this is. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I have never heard of that in my life.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so trunk or treat. I mean, considering it's okay, my mind is going to two places. So one, it's referring to a tree trunk, where it's like you do something around like a
Okay.
tree, or like if like you throw candy at the tree or something. I don't know. And then the other
Throwing
thing,
it, just chunking candy at a tree.
why not? I don't know what the y'all get up to down there. But then the other thing that I'm thinking of is like maybe it's referring to like the trunk of a car. Like maybe there's like a communal meetup where like where people just put a bunch of candy in their trunks and then kids go around.
Yes, that's basically what it is.
Wait, is that it?
So a lot
Let's go!
a lot of churches will do, and I say a lot. I don't know. This might not be all over America. Again, I was born and raised in the Midwest, so this could be totally just like local Midwest thing. I'm not sure, but I know it still does happen today. I've participated in a couple trunk or treats, and I still see them advertised.
Such a stupid name.
It is very dumb. It is where members of the church will all meet up at the church, and you park your car, and you open your trunk, and sometimes people will decorate them. Sometimes they will just have a bowl of candy in there, and then the children will walk
bobbing for
around
candy
in the.
out of a
No,
trunk.
you don't bob for the candy. No, and then the children will walk around sometimes in costume, if it's allowed. Probably God honoring costumes. But they will walk around in costume to each person's trunk instead of it being like trick or treat where you go to strangers' doors, and then
just go to the church.
each person will hand out candy standing by their decorated trunk at the church. So it's not a bad idea in theory. I do understand why these things happen, and they're not always religious. I have seen some that are just community based, where it's more people that you actually know, and your kid's not wandering around on streets where you don't know. Like you take them to this place, and then you walk around with them while you're getting the candy. And so from a safety perspective, I totally understand why parents do this, but a lot of the times I've found that they're at churches, and it is pushed more as a faith-based alternative to any other type of trick-or-treating or haunted houses or anything of that nature.
My personal experience with that one, Lexi, was that during COVID times, or very shortly after COVID times, that was a very good way of like keeping people relatively like, hey, we're all gonna go here instead, and outside instead of a gathering, and like doing stuff like that. Like it was just much more spread out in a parking lot and just one contained area, instead of if one kid's sick, walking to every house in a neighborhood and getting everybody at all the houses sick. They would just be at the church, basically, or at a parking lot.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it's outdoors and you're able to stay like far enough away from people where you wouldn't have that happen. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can see the utility in that.
Like, that's the positive part, yeah.
Yeah, that's the positive, and that's the more tame one of like, you also have churches that will do, again, a fall festival, a harvest night, where again, you're going to the church instead of doing anything spooky, and, there might be like painting pumpkins, there might be games and stuff, but again, it's meant as that faith-based alternative to any other sorts of activities you would be doing on Halloween.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering that too, but it sounds like it's what it sounds like, just kind of like an autumn themed festival,
right? Like there's specifically, I have photos from an event I attended with the church we were going to when I was a kid, and I was a picture of me by a hay bale, and yeah, there's pumpkins, and it's very generically fall, instead of it avoids the spooky at all costs. There's no carved pumpkins, there's none of that, but it's just mainly hay bales and squashes and harvest, yay!
A gourd,
like
just
maybe
a
a
single gourd.
scarecrow if we're feeling a little spooky. Maybe there's a little happy scarecrow.
If we're feeling
little scarecrow is a treat.
Just a tiny bit spookumed.
I'm very curious to see the people that are listening or viewing this, if you
What
have
their
any
take on it.
experience with being told Halloween is scary, if you come from a country that you don't even really celebrate Halloween, because I know that there are countries that they're like, what really is Halloween? Like maybe they know it from a movie or because they've heard stuff from America, but their country doesn't really celebrate. So I'm really curious to see what people's experiences are. But before I get too far off topic, the most extreme version of Jesusifying Halloween is actually something that I had never heard of before. It is the concept of a hell house.
What?
And there is a fantastic video if you want a deep dive on hell houses and specific examples. Go check out Jen at Fundy Fridays on YouTube. She does a fantastic job overviewing that, but I will just give a short description that hell houses were meant to be an alternative to haunted houses, and they are another fear-mongering tactic where
Do you get to experience what hell is? That's my guess.
basically
Let's go.
it was meant for teenagers, so typically not for children. So children would do an equivalent of, a little harvest festival or whatever. These are more meant for teenagers, young adults that would be interested and be able to participate in actual scary, demonic haunted houses. They would do these hell houses, and these hell houses were a way for them to basically, if I want to use a nice word, spread the word or spread the faith of what can happen to you if you are a sinner, if you were doing things that are outside of God's will for you. So without getting into graphic detail, because I don't want to have to put a trigger warning or freak people out, but you would basically walk through scenarios of people who might be in costume as actors, or there might be projections, things like that. Typically, these are older. I don't know if there are modern day churches doing this. This was really big, I think about 20 years ago, I want to say. And on the Fundy Fridays video, Jen points out kind of the timeline of that. But I wouldn't be surprised if churches were still doing this to this day. But you walk through scenarios that are people sinning, and that could be, smoking, drinking, things like that, all the way up to, no behaviors that you're not supposed to do. I'm sure we can all think of whatever the Bible mentions as being sinful, or you've heard people say, oh, this is a sinful thing,
I do have a quick question, Lexi, because I've never heard of this either until you mentioned this. How deep did it go? I don't want you to get graphic or have to do a trigger warning, but were there people that are like, I cheated on my test and went to hell? Or is it to scare
stuff you should be in jail for life for?
Yep.
Something.
So in my experience from what I've researched, and again, in the Fundy Fridays video, Jen talks about, these are not meant for children. Young children were not going in these. These were teenagers, high school age kids, young adults, maybe in college, who would be wanting to go to actual haunted houses, but going to the hell houses and being scared for their life because they're afraid they're going to go to hell, instead of being scared because a clown with a chainsaw jumped out at them.
That is scary though, Lexi.
But it goes very deep. Some of these hell houses, it's again, drinking a beer and all this stuff. And so, okay, wow, it's not really that scary, but of course they decorate it to where you're in the pitch black. They put the spooky music, they may have somebody dress up as the devil, and all that stuff, all the way up to very intense I don't even know what I could say on YouTube or whatever, but whatever you could think of as being very traumatic to somebody and trying to scare them into not doing it. It would
that was an example. Did they just if you kill somebody, is something like that?
Yeah, that's actually that's a good point. Probably we could use that as an example because it's not very explicit. Yes, they showed a thing of murdering someone or whatever, and they would actually, some of these places would go so far as to, prop knife, and there's blood and there's screaming and and
Jesus.
You're in this room.
Gosh.
Yeah, you're
that sounds hardcore, more than stuff I normally do for Halloween. Jeez.
Right. So it's very interesting. And of course, hell houses are not extremely common.
I want to start one.
Of course not. No, please don't. But those types of scenarios have happened. And of course, at the end of the day, what is that meant to do? Well, it's meant to scare people. It's meant to scare people into thinking, wow, I need to go to church, or wow, I need to change my ways or my behavior because I don't want to, get murdered. I don't want, to go to hell. I don't want, it's very traumatizing to walk through a dark room with scary music and screaming and blood, fake blood. But still, that's, you're not expecting that. And even if you go through a haunted house, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe the clown with the chainsaw jumps out at you, but that's fake. Versus the hell houses, their appeal or what they're trying to do is be like, no, this is real. This is what's going to happen. You're really going to
go to hell. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you do these things, if you drink a beer, you could go to hell. Like that level of stuff. So I just wanted to highlight that too, because I think I personally have never been to a hell house. I don't have any experience with that, but yeah, if you're interested in learning about hell houses, a couple of years ago, Fundy Fridays on YouTube, look for Jen. She did a video about that. But that blew my mind when I saw that. But I also, as much as I was surprised, I kind of wasn't surprised because of all of the fear mongering that goes into Halloween and trying to do anything you can to get kids to not celebrate Halloween, but then still co-opting and like taking those ideas of scaring kids and trying to turn it into something that's godly. And it's very
I was
weird.
gonna say, like after everything else we talked about, like in terms of what different churches and evangelical groups like try and do to deter people away from Halloween, it just kind of feels like this is the next, I want to say logical step. I mean, it's not very logical, but to them it's probably logical. Like, it's like the next progression, like the next step up,
right?
In that regard,
step up to the streets. Like it's that.
Like
next...
if we're really gonna get to them, then we need to try to draw them in and make them think that this is something that's a Halloween experience, and then we'll be like, gotcha. It's actually about your soul,
Whoops, you have
My
trauma
soul.
now. Yeah,
no.
There you go.
Yeah.
The whoops, you have trauma now for sure. So yeah, of course, there's not been an actual, nationwide or even statewide ban of Halloween. There's not been, as far as I'm aware, and
at
again,
least in America.
Yeah, well, in America, yeah. As far as I'm aware, I don't think that there has been like legislation to try to cancel Halloween or anything, but I do know that certain fundamentalist Christian groups do try to use their power and their influence in a community and try to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Why don't you come to the church instead?
I just have a question about the whole, like, I understand that some people might see it as very evil or very, like, again, like, I grew up and I was very normalized about, like, ooh, this is evil. You're going to go to hell if you follow this or if you celebrate Halloween and stuff. But, like, why? I know this is not just an answer for you. It's more of a rhetorical question. But, like, why is it such a sticking point of, like, Halloween? Like, there are so many other holidays that if you go down deeper and deeper of, like, ooh, this kind of has a weird thing like this or this or this or this. But, like, the really rigidness of, ooh, these scary movies, oops, skeletons and stuff like that. Like, that's the part that I personally still don't really get and understand, because I feel as though if you look at other things like, oh, well, fall is still a very serviceable and a thing that happens every year, basically, right? Of like, it comes around, you hang out, you get to eat some pumpkin pie or eat some of this or eat some of this and just have a fall-centric holiday and a fall-centric, like, celebration. But whenever you add in this layer of like, but this one day is evil, like, it almost elevates it to this point of like, it's cooler now because, oh, well, I'm not supposed to be able to go celebrate Halloween. It's metal. I'm gonna go put a 12-foot skeleton up. Like, I think people really love Halloween, and not just because of this stuff, but just because Halloween's very cool. But specifically, they just really love like I am Lewis, like that pumpkin that goes,
oh, yeah.
I am Lewis, and stuff like that. There's entire spirit.
Shout out to Lewis.
Shout out.
Hey, shout out my bro Lewis.
Shout out to the pumpkin Lewis. But there's entire stores, entire business models around Halloween. But then there's the whole other side that's trying to cancel. Like, I don't understand this war almost that they're trying to
The war on
to
Halloween.
fight. Yeah, like it feels like that, even though
You know, it's really interesting that you bring that up because I think that was going to be one of my points is that, of course, I'm speaking from a very, again, born and raised in the Midwest sort of thing. So this might not be applicable to even other areas of America. But I think personally in my own life, being told that I couldn't celebrate Halloween for even that was really only a few years. My parents kind of realized like, hey, this is kind of dumb. Like, why are we being so rigid about this? Like, they really no, honestly. And I gave my mom some crap for it, and we were joking about it, and I was like, yeah, remember those few years where you wouldn't let me go even to my friend's house because you were afraid I was going to go trick or treating at my friend's house? And she laughs about it now because she's kind of embarrassed. But I think a lot of parents were just trying to protect their kids. And if their church that they trusted was saying, oh no, don't let your kids do this, this opens up a whole can of worms that, like literally you might be letting demons in, then, I think the natural response is for the young people that were subjected to that to, if they no longer believe that, to say, man, I missed out on 5-10 years of my childhood or of my life not being able to celebrate this. So like, why
not
not
being able to go do stuff with your friends? Like, yeah.
Right. Like, why not celebrate it now? Because now I don't hold that same belief that I once did. And I think that's why in America or even, in the Midwest, we're seeing this uptick of people that are buying 12-foot skeletons and are, posting Halloween pictures about, oh, who up baking these cookies? And it's the little pumpkin cookie, print things. And I think it's become an even bigger holiday because it's in one part a rebellion if you've been somebody that's been subjected to that. But in another way, it's also one of the holidays that actually doesn't have as much of a religious leaning. And so a bunch of people from a bunch of different religious backgrounds can come together and celebrate this and have a fun time versus, the bigger holidays, at least in America. Easter, what is that? It's a Christian holiday. Christmas, what is that? Mostly a Christian holiday. I mean, yeah, of course, Santa and, all that stuff, but mostly people are, Christian people going to church. Like that's a huge holiday. And obviously Hanukkah is not as huge. People don't really, of course, there's Jewish people that celebrate Hanukkah, but it's not nearly as big of a deal as Christmas, and it's also, I think, without me being on a 5-hour soapbox, I think it's also the commercialization of it too. Halloween is a very easy holiday to
sell,
pump out merch for. It's a merch.
Yeah.
Halloween got its own
It
merch.
is very unique in terms of its like aesthetics and
Right.
like what is for sale and what you do during that. So yeah.
And there's a big demand for it, so it's a big money maker. So, I think that's another reason too. And to your point, Gordon, about why are they so against Halloween? I think it's because it doesn't have a religious leaning. They can't, I don't want to make this statement because I don't want to offend anybody who happens to be a Christian, because I don't have a problem with that. But I think there are some Christian people that get upset that they can't really put a Jesus spin on Halloween. So what's the next best thing? Okay, well, we're going to make our own thing then. We're going to ignore Halloween. We're going to say that it's demonic and it's bad because, again, the origins of it being where the most open time for the other world, or for what some people might say is hell or whatever, that's where they're like, oh, see, demons. See, this is not a religious holiday. So I think that plays a part in it as well, which, again, I mean no offense to anybody who either A, doesn't celebrate Halloween, or B, is a Christian. I'm not making overarching statements. Just kind of my observations about that.
That's very much where I come at it from too. Oh, hi, Battle Bus.
Battle Bus appearance. Battle Bus on the podcast. Let's go.
Battle Bus on the podcast. Moving exactly 2 inches and shaking her head to get my attention. Yes.
Cult of Battle Bus is very pleased.
They're very, very happy. But no, I'm glad that you thought about that too, and I'm glad that I could lead into what you were talking about as well, Lexi. And I know that it's a very difficult, hard thing for a lot of people, because again, I know it's not entirely an American-based thing, because I'm almost certain there's something similar, but maybe with other holidays across the world, of maybe they have issues with this in places like, we'll just say, like Saudi Arabia with a different holiday, or in an Asian country with another holiday and stuff like that, of one
Right.
religious side has done this with it, or one side has done this and this and this, and like it can cause a lot of, if not turmoil, but just a lot of very difficult times and it getting pushed back and forth of it's good, it's bad, oh, it's accepted, it's not accepted. So I very much can understand exactly where you're coming from. So just wanted to add that
Yeah.
little piece in.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I think, again, without going on a 5-hour soapbox, I think that capitalism has a big part to play in it. If stores and companies can profit off of really anything, doesn't even have to be a holiday, but if they can profit off anything, they're going to be like, we see dollar signs. Let's make something for this. And, we've seen it even with the rise of like, I feel like I see all the time on social media, like today is National Ice Cream Day. Today is National Buy an Envelope Day. Like I feel like I see things for that all the time. And so of course, if a store or a company's like, hey man, people really want more envelope merch for National Lick an Envelope Day, like that could be the next big thing. I mean, it's not going to be, but just as a stupid example, like if the demand is there and they can make money off of it, then they're going to seek that out. So I think that's something that's maybe a little bit more unique to America in that way too, is I think in general, holidays feel like they keep getting bigger and bigger and longer and longer. And, we see Christmas stuff out in June, and like, I think it's just because they're like, we want the money. On a short
I was gonna say,
answer.
especially with Christmas too.
Oh, yeah.
Or like all holidays, like freaking Valentine's Day and like St. Patty's Day and
yeah.
everything. It's all like, a lot of it is really easy to just commoditize. Is that the right word? What
Yeah, commodify. Yeah, you're right.
commodify. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, but that's a really good point too. Like, it sells.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Why I think you see like 8 million Spirit Halloweens pop up around this time.
Exactly.
Right. In this house we love Spirit Halloween though. I love Spirit Halloween.
That is true. I do like Spirit Halloween.
Love
I
your
should
Spirit
go to one
Halloween.
actually before the season
Lewis.
goes out.
No, I think Lewis is at Target.
No.
I don't think Lewis is at
that's
Spirit
fine,
Halloween.
so-
But
Lewis.
shout out, we love a Spirit Halloween. But yeah, so that was a kind of a lot of me talking, and I hope that people did enjoy some of the information. Maybe they knew it already, maybe they didn't. If you are listening and you're either absolutely shocked because this sounds like the wildest shit you've ever heard, please let us know.
If you also didn't know what the hell a trunk or treat was,
Because I am very much because it was my lived experience. So when I talk about it, I'm just assuming like, oh, people know what this is, and so even that little moment of Eric being like, "What is a trunk or treat?" Like,
I could tell
That was-
immediately he was going to be like, what is a
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, wait. Yeah, this is a very
I'm like,
unique
wait, this isn't. A lot of people didn't experience this, and so
thing. Bro doesn't know about trunk or treat.
oh no, wow, he's really missing out. But it's just another little reminder because, of course, there's bigger issues that we're more aware of, right? That everybody has different feelings or thoughts on or experiences. But something like this where it's like, oh, yeah, I grew up and Halloween was considered evil. And people are like, oh, that's weird. It's a little bit shocking.
like you're able to look back on it now and be like, it's kind of funny. Like, why did we do that? Like, why?
Why did we do that? Yeah.
And it's really funny because I can bring it up to my mom and she's like, yeah, I don't know why. Because, we went from Halloween was totally fine and my brother could read Harry Potter, and then it was not okay. And now we've circled back to when I was like a teenager. One of our family vacations, we went to Orlando to Disney World, and we were at the Halloween party at Disney World. So like it, it comes full circle too.
Yeah.
Like, this is okay. Oh my gosh, now it's not okay. But
It's
I think it
Evo.
also, I think it also speaks to the fact that the broader PSA is that we're really influenced by our community, by our family members and our religious groups that we interact with. And sometimes it's good to take a step back and say like, okay, do I actually like this? Do I actually think this? And,
Yeah.
You know,
like is this actually a good thing to promote or to think about?
right? Or do I
Yeah.
even actually agree with this? You know, because obviously it's changed in my own personal lifetime with my parents and myself, and so I think that's a broader sort of thing to end on, even though I know it's spooky Halloween, but just asking yourself, hey, does this make sense to me? And also at the end of the day, who is this
Put
benefiting?
some thoughts in that noggin of yours.
Exactly.
What was that accent?
I don't know what that accent was. Something like deep and dark just came out of me. I don't know
Oh
what
my
that
gosh.
was.
accent.
It's because you celebrate Halloween, Eric. The
Oh,
darkness is coming in.
John Halloween is coming to take my soul.
This is John Halloween.
That's Satan. No, Satan's number one demon he sends out on Halloween is John Halloween. You know, or actually, it's probably Michael Myers because you know the Halloween movies. That's why they're named Halloween.
True.
Right.
I tell you, I work with
Yeah,
a guy
that's actually the
that
killer's
works on
name
Halloween.
in that movie. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think.
Eric,
I
sorry,
knew
what did you say? We all talked over each other there.
I already forgot what I said. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
My memory. I can't think. My brain is like a really
Period.
like it's like a half gigabyte stick of RAM where it has room for like
Half
one thought,
gigabyte?
and once the thght leaves,
Oh my goodness.
it's like it's just gone forever.
Bro's
Like it's
rocking a half gigabyte of RAM over here.
Oh my gosh. Well, on a little bit of a lighter note, because that was very me ranting heavy. What do we think are going to be some of the top Halloween costumes for this year? Do you
Leave a
guys have any
comment down
ideas?
below. Also, what you think that the
Yeah.
top
Yeah,
one will
leave
be.
your comments about it. But
True. Probably something from The Boys. I ain't even gonna lie. Like
The Boys,
I would not be
okay.
surprised if I saw like multiple Homelander costumes.
all right, all right,
Probably primarily worn by like young teens though.
like
True.
teenagers.
Like I don't think 6-year-olds are watching The Boys. I mean I
hope
hope
not.
they're not
That
watching
would be
I
funny,
don't
though.
watch The Boys. I don't watch
It would
The
be
Boys.
funny.
I've heard it's very gory, so I'm like, ooh, no, thank you. Even though
It
I have
is
heard it's
very
good.
like it is very a lot.
Very
Yeah.
a lot.
So hopefully,
And
hopefully no
very a lot.
6-year-old Homelanders show up to your homes.
If they do,
I'm
send us some
thinking-
pictures. Send them to Lexi.
Please don't do that. You know, Lexi at lexi.lexi. No,
Yes,
that's
it.
don't.
How did you know? How could you forget? Darn it.
My
How did you forget that you know? No, anyway.
How could you forget that you know? My guess is I think we're going to still see a lot of Minecraft for young kids. I think a lot of kids are still going to do the Minecraft.
Did I hear
Halloween
free on
costumes.
kids?
No, a lot of young kids.
Oh, I thought you said Minecraft free on kids, as though they were like,
No, or maybe Minecraft for young kids is what I said.
oh, okay.
I did not say free on. I swear to you. I know we've been
I can
recording a
believe
long
that.
time.
I was actually kind of surprised at how much Minecraft, because like Minecraft has always had like lifetime free updates, so I'm surprised that there's still so many sales of the game. And then I remembered it's because there's so many kids that are getting into Minecraft because it's
Right.
so freaking old.
And
like I'm
then-
so used to it for like 15 years, but then there's a bunch of young kids that are buying it new.
And Eric,
it's, you know,
Parkour Civilization, like it just came out.
Oh my goodness.
You know about Parkour Civilization?
I'm gonna keep it 100. What's parkour? So
that is for another day.
yeah, I was
How
gonna say that
could
might
you
be. I think
forget?
we're a bit far.
Yeah. I was trying to wrap up with Halloween themed things. We're not gonna Minecraft was in relation to that, nothing else.
True.
I have
Yeah.
a feeling I'll see less Freddy Fazbear's and less Five Nights at Freddy's characters
Would
this
you,
year.
Eric? Would you do the single jump for the chicken, or would you do the
Okay.
one vertical jump
So
for the
thank
beef?
you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this Halloween episode of How Could You Forget, or How Could Boo Forget. I hope it wasn't too heavy, and I hope I was not too preachy or ranty.
No, you were good. I think. If you were preachy, that'd be kind of ironic.
That
but
you know what? That would be ironic.
That's a good one, Eric. Thank you.
Stay safe out there, everybody. Enjoy your Halloween, or not. If you don't celebrate, that's totally fine. But
yes.
enjoy.
Whatever you do it safely.
Absolutely, and always check your candy, because you know that's
Yes.
another panic. Is that there's always strange things in the candy.
There's that whole TV show in there.
The whole TV show.
The Stranger Things.
Oh my goodness!
Stranger. Oh my God.
I totally missed that.
True. And also, important thing, be safe, check your candy, all that stuff. Because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to go to putinyourSocialSecurity.com and subscribe to the
That
Patreon.
is a great segue.
That's a great point.
Man, he's got
How
some
can you
great
give
points.
us money if you're not?
You have to
No,
say.
but seriously, thank you to all the patrons on both me and Gordon's patrons. You guys are dope. Everyone watching is dope, but y'all get an extra dope. You are dope.
Dope.
Thank you so much. Happy Halloween, and we'll see you in the next one.